Good evening. Thank you for joining us on Super Sister Saturday. As you know, today will be a very emotional topic. 60 to 70% of our community deal with sexual abuse and haven't learned how to heal with that abuse. So we have a couple sisters on here today that will help you deal with the process of healing, and we have a couple sisters that will tell about their story. Um, we look forward to hearing your comments, questions you may have, and to add to our group today. So the topic is, what are the effects of sexual abuse on the Black community, and how do we begin to heal? We will have Sister Lakeisha today, Sister Tammy, and Sister Zakoria telling their story. Thank you for joining us, Brother DeAndre. Thank you for joining us, Brother Brian, Brother Michael, Sister Lisa, Bruce Muhammad. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your support. We look forward to hearing some of your questions. Sister Imani, how you doing? Thank you for joining us today. Brother Square, thanks for joining us today. All right, so we're going to start with Sister Tammy. She is from Atlanta. She has that nice sun out there. She is a part of Sister Saturday. Last week we missed her, but we look forward to hearing from her today. She will tell us a little bit about her story and a little bit about how she healed or is continuing to heal. Sister Tammy?
Hi, everyone. I just want to, this is Tammy Marie. I just want to say thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Scranton, for always supporting us, and Rashonda and Bruce and Amani and Amari. Thank y'all so much for always supporting us on this Super Sister Saturday. I just want to thank you guys. I am Tammy Marie, and as you know, the topic is, sexual assault and within our community, being assaulted by, the ones that we're closest to, basically, the ones that we love, our uncles, a friend, even a father. I was personally molested by my uncle. Um, I'm not going to get really into detail, and it wasn't to be, I don't want to be too vulgar about the topic or about the issue, but I was, it only happened twice, thank God. It wasn't any type of penetration. It was a lot of other things. It was penetration, but not with, you know, that part. But I can smile today. I honestly can smile today in regards to my story because it happened when I was 12 years old. I'm 39 at this current time, about to be 40. So I have had a lot of time to heal. I never sought counseling in regards to it. The most hurting part it wasn't my uncle that was the most hurting for me. It was mostly my grandparents. When I went to my grandmother in regards to telling her what occurred and what happened, all she stated was, in our community, all we, everything is pray about it, pray about this, pray about that, which is amazing. But I want you to be there for me. I want you to encourage me. I want you to support me. I want you to understand me. I want you to trust me. I want you to know that I'm telling the truth, and she wasn't there. Before she passed, she did apologize. So she did acknowledge what happened to me, um, and things like that. So, in going into that, I began to heal because I do believe in telling your story is healing. So as I began to tell my story to a friend, because I always thought it was my fault, and that's the part that hurts the most. you don't forgive yourself. And once you forgive yourself and know that it's not your fault and don't have any shame no longer, that's when you begin to heal. And I saw that when I started telling my story, that it was not my fault. And that's how I began to heal, although I never sought counseling. Telling my story was counseling for me. So thank you so much for listening. And I hope in us, these beautiful women telling their story, if this has touched your life, I pray to God that you seek healing and telling your story as well, because it is freeing in telling your story. And don't be ashamed. It is not your fault.
Thank you, Sister Tammy, for sharing your story. It was very touching and inspirational. And one of the greatest things, oh, by the way, let me introduce myself. I'm Sister Naira Muhammad, St. Petersburg, Florida, member of the Nation of Islam, Muhammad Mosque number 95. Currently, I'm serving in the nation as a student sister captain, working with the women in the Nation of Islam, and I've been doing that by God's permission for 17 years. And I'm also serving as a helper in our nation, dealing with Dianetics, auditing, auditor coordinator as well. And to hear you tell your story and what you have been through and where you're at now is very encouraging. It shows that you have a lot of courage to come forward to use what has happened to you to help others. So I wanted to just thank you for being bold enough to open up and share. And as you stated, communication is the highest form of healing. Being able to talk about it brings about a lot of relief. So me personally, thank you very much for sharing your story. And I'm sure from your experience and what you've been through has touched many that's looking at this and many that will look at this to say it's okay to be able to share my story. So I wanted to say that and thank you.
Thank you,
Sister
Sister
Naira.
Thank you. On the panel, we also have Sister Deborah. She will also be helping with healing and how to heal, in addition to Sister Naira. And now we have Sister Lakeisha on, as well as Sister Zakoria. You all should remember Sister Zakoria from Black Love Thursday. She participated on this past Thursday's topic. So now we will have Sister Lakeisha go into her story.
Hello, everybody. Wow. As Sister Tammy said, the healing comes in being able to share the story. Like her, for a long time, I didn't speak about it. Unfortunately, in our communities, it's just not something that you speak about. It's just you move on and you go on. For me, unfortunately, mine didn't happen a few times. It started before the passing of my mother. I was 12, just before I turned 13. And it lasted until my sophomore year, going into high school. So with my situation, it was a person who was a father to me. And I stayed in the situation. My mother had passed. We bounced around a little bit, my brother and I. I actually had informed my family, my sisters, my older sisters, of what was going on. And at the time, I don't think they knew how to deal with this, because this was my father. My mom had passed away. So for them, it was like, you to stay with your father, or with your dad. So that was the most crushing thing for me, because when I informed them, I kind of expected the cavalry to come over to heal and take me out of the situation, and they didn't. So I had to learn to deal with my situation. And I didn't talk to anybody else because it's like, if your own sisters won't come to rescue you, then who will? And it caused a lot of bitterness they don't even know about to this day with them, because I felt like they should have protected their baby sister, and they didn't. So what actually ended it, so to speak, was my sophomore year. I got hurt. It was just getting really bad. The frequency of it was getting really bad. I started calling myself liking boys, and it created a lot of tension between he and I, because I was starting to like boys or whatever. And I finally got the courage to tell his sister, his older sister, which is my aunt, who was helping raise me at the time. And he came and got me. She waited for him to go to work. I played sick that day from school, and she came and got me. And that's how it stopped. And so she came and, like I said, rescued me, took me to her home, asked me what I wanted to do as far as, pressing charges. What did I want to do? And I just told her I didn't want to see him anymore, because it was hard. This is somebody that raised me. This is my father. And so, but she did put me into counseling and therapy, just kept me active in school or whatnot. But it was a lot. It was a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about him. I learned that most abusers are abused themselves. And so my biggest thing out of this is that I learned to forgive myself. I learned to forgive him. And that's how I moved forward. Like I said, it's a lot. It's a rough road back to recovery, because you're still, you're a young adult, and then you get married, you have all these things that are going on, whatever. But my thing is, I want the frequency of this in our community is more painful than anything for me, to know that I'm not the only one. Most people say, oh, well, you should be, you're not the only one. That's not a proud moment for me, to know that I'm not the only one that this is happening to. So I'm going to relinquish. That's my story. But like I said, we'll get more into it and have that conversation. And I look forward to hearing from Sister Deborah and Sister Naira and the other sisters on their process of healing, and answering any questions that our audience may have as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Lakeisha, for that. We appreciate you sharing your story. Some comments from the live. Sister Amani said, awesome to see you, Sister Naira, in the session. Sister Lisa said, blessings to you, Sister Tammy, and your transparency. Brother Scranton Michael said, hold your head up high, because every day you get better, inshallah. Brother Amar said he commend you all, you sisters, for your courage enough to share your pain so that others experiencing the same pain can be healed. Love you, family. So now we will have Sister Zakoria introduce herself and tell a little bit about her story. Sister Zakoria?
Hi. My story, I guess it starts off when I was 17. My first sexual encounter was because of rape. I was on a date with a guy that I had met at school, and we were supposed to be heading to Chuck E. Cheese, but we ended up stopping at his house. He was telling me that I had left a watch or a bracelet there. Well, not at his house. I had left it in his car, and he had put it in his room. So the conversation for like a good 30 minutes was him convincing me to go into his house. So after a while, I was like, okay, fine, I'll just go in. So went inside, met his mom, went to the room to go get the watch or the bracelet, whatever it was. And first we just sat there, talked a little bit, sat on his bed, and we went on to kissing, touching, and once I was put on my back, that's when I panicked. So I'm explaining to him, I'm a virgin. I'm not comfortable with doing this right now. And it literally went in one ear and out the other. It went on to a fight that I obviously lost. He was on the varsity football team. He was way bigger than me. So he went in once and he stopped. He said he stopped because I started crying and I was starting to make him feel bad. So from that point, he came out of his room and allowed me to get dressed, and we went on with the date like nothing happened. Recently, very recently, my ex-boyfriend assaulted me a few times. The last time was, I want to say Thursday or Wednesday. Once in his car and the other time at his sister's. I'm sorry. The last time, I guess the time in his car, we hadn't spoke in a few years, so we were speaking because there were some things going on with his mom. So I came outside to talk to him, and once again, since our previous experience, I wasn't comfortable being alone with him. So for a good 30, 45 minutes, he's convincing me to just get in the car. So I went ahead, got into the van. We started talking about his mom. I go in the house for a minute to put my groceries away, came back, sat in the passenger seat, and noticed that he was in the back seat of the van. And he was just convincing me, come sit back here. So I'm telling him, of course, no, I already know what you're trying to do. I'm not doing that with you. He literally pulled me over the seat of the van into the back seat, onto the floor, and we started fighting for a good minute until my pants was off, and I just gave in at that point until he was finished.
Thank you, Sister Zakoria, for telling your story. Just want you to know that this is absolutely amazing that you're able to talk about it, even though it just, took place not that long ago. Sister Rhonda in the comments, she said, Sister Queens, know that you all are loved and never be ashamed. This was never your fault. So don't ever think that it was your fault or anything that you did. So now we're going to have Sister Deborah introduce herself, and she's going to start asking questions. Sister Deborah, can you introduce yourself?
Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I am a life coach and a Dianetic auditor. And one thing that I would like to ask, first of all, I would like to say thank you so much for inviting me on. I appreciate the opportunity to help heal. One thing that I want to ask all of the young ladies is, how important is it now for you to tell your story so that you may help other sisters that are in the same position that you were in? I heard all three of you say, telling your story is what helped empower you. So now I want to know how important it is for you to continue to tell your story so that you can help save other young ladies that are like you.
Sister Tammy, can we start with you?
Yes, ma'am. What was the question? I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Sister Deborah, what was the question?
how important is it now for you to share your story to help other sisters that have been in situations like you?
Absolutely. It's right now I'm just honestly I'm taken aback. I actually it's very important for me to tell my story because it's like I stated before, is I need us as women, us as girls to heal because honestly it comes from shame and it comes from guilt, a lot of it, and you feel like it's your fault, is you feel like it's something that you could have done differently. And I want women to know, and I want girls to know, it's not your fault, and don't be ashamed, and it's nothing you could have done differently in some aspects, especially being a young girl. I'm just really taken aback right now with Sister Zakora with her story, because this is something that's continuously going on with her right now. And I see a lot of our viewers here is very touched by her and wants to know if she's okay, wants to know if she needs assistance, because I want her to know that as her sisters on here as well, that we are here for her. And if she need any assistance and help right now, to please reach out to someone, please reach out to us. That's my main concern right now is for her. I'm so sorry that she is continually being attacked by someone that she at one point loved. My heart just goes out to her right now, and I'm just very sad that she's continuously being attacked. And this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about right now. And I just want to reach through and just save her, and that's it right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Sister Naira, do you have any
Yes,
questions?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, first and foremost, this is it's very powerful that we're on this, particular live talk. This is my first time actually engaging in this type of talk with other women that has been through this amount of abuse and is still in the pain of the experience that is real. I don't have a question. I more so have a statement, and I'm very grateful for this statement is going to be a solution. I'm very grateful for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is a divine guidance, not just to the members in the Nation of Islam, but to the world, especially Black America, especially for the Black woman. Because what we see and what we're experiencing right now on this live video that we're doing, this is a product, the residual effects of over 400 years of slavery that we have suffered from in America. See, we are going through the same things our ancestors did. Rape was common. It was common not to talk about it, you see? And what we are seeing is those now, as the sister said, that is abusing us in present time, they have been abused. And it's down generation, it passes down generation after generation after generation. And we're looking at generational curses, generational pattern. So now it's right in our family. Because these people, I'm sorry, somebody keep texting. That's how you know the enemy don't want this to get out. But these people are affected even in their subconscious mind that they can come back and repeat this. So what am I saying here? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan introduced Dianetics to Black America, to the Black man and woman, because he said, how many of us, men and women, have been raped? You're speaking to someone, dear Sister Sequoia, I feel your pain. Every Sister Tammy, Sister Lakeisha, I feel your pain. I'm right here with you. I was molested by my cousin from the age 7 to 13. Then I was brutally raped. That's not including the men that was touching me along the way that I never told my mother. I was told to be quiet. So what's the solution? I was a victim, but then I become self-destructive. When we suffer from this type of pain, we start self-destructing. Then we find ourselves in the beds of different men because we're trying to find a healing. But today, I am happy to say, and the sister that's on the line, congratulations for being a Dianetic auditor. This pain is real, but we can take ourselves from the position of pain to power. So I offer to you Dianetics. Why? Because your story is so important. But imagine when you get yourself from pain to power, that your story, as it is right now, as we speak, is serving as a healing process. But it becomes just a memory and not so painful. So I offer to you solutions to that pain. Take that pain, turn it into power, and use it as your ministry. We know that your mess is your message. Your test is your testimony. So we're going to take this pain and we should formulate a group that women can come and express their pains, but then we immediately go into action. And we start the healing process. So it's good that we are expressing this pain today, because communication is the highest form of healing. Let's see us do something about it. Now, my question would be, are you ready for a healing? Are you ready to transform that pain into power? There's young girls all around this world, right in your community, your story. You know how many sisters are date raped? So that would be what I would have to say, and to add on to this. And I just want to congratulate these sisters and thank them so very much for just being willing to sit before a camera and bring about healing. You are valuable. You are powerful. And don't let your abuser be in such a mind that you can't do something for yourself. So forgiveness, as the sister said, that's powerful. The first thing I had to learn how to do was to forgive myself. So I thank you so very much. But let's get into action. Taking this pain and going into power. I see beautiful Black women that can help heal the Black man and woman. You know how many men will be healed from your story?
And I want to add on to that too. Once we did a healing circle, it was very powerful. Actually, my friend did it. I didn't do it. But what happened in the healing circle was they took men and women and they made the men stand up and the women went first. And they got to tell the Black man every negative name, every negative action that they experienced. So each sister rotated in front of a brother and kind of told a little quick snippet of their story. When the brothers got to respond, there were so many tears and they cleared up so many misunderstandings, because sometimes in the Black community, the way we act as little girls, the attention that we need because this society don't validate us, makes us act in a certain way that the brothers look at us, and the young men and the young boys, and they look at us and they don't look at us righteously. They look at us like we're fast. And if you listen to the language of children, we don't even respect each other in a sexual manner. So some boys go too far because of the way that we've been reared or allowed to act in front of each other. So like sexual assault is very, very important that we carry ourselves in a way to be protected. And I'm not saying that it's your fault, because it's not, because it happened to me. And when it happened to me, I had no understanding of what was going on. I had so many mixed feelings and mixed emotions. So I started to research and I started to ask people, because I thought, man, we already get the bad deal in this society, so there's no way that this should be happening too. But as I did research and I talked to people, I picked up on patterns that we have in the Black community. The worst one is keeping it hush hush. So I started to do more and more research. When Black men came home from Vietnam, sexual abuse went way up. Even now, I studied this Dr. Patricia Newton. She does a video called Sexual Assault, like the sexual assault of children. Her name is Dr. Patricia Newton. But when I watched that video, it was one of the turning points in my life. It freed me up, because we live in a sex-sick society. So you just sit back and wonder, how could people do this? But once you understand the mindset of the people who run this community and this world, and the way that they just put images before us, and the way that we're treated, and the validation that we don't receive, you can better understand how these things happen to us. So it's very important that for all the ladies who spoke, I thank God for you being bold enough to speak, because most of the people who get molested feel like they're not going to get no help, and they don't ever speak. So speaking out is very important. But when I watched this video from Dr. Patricia Newton, it just shows the mindset of the people who run this country. And it's all sexually based, especially in the worst things that you can think of. Another turning point was for me that freed me absolutely was when I heard a lecture from Minister Farrakhan, and he said, Allah will try you with the trials of the people so that you can go out and heal your people. And that's when I became a Dianetics auditor, because I was suffering myself with my own situation, and it just freed me. Then I went on to study like our transition from here, from Africa. So I wanted to know, what were we like as a people before we came to this crazy place? Who's just turning us out? So I went through an initiation and I did an SNTE. That's a naming ceremony. Well, in the ceremony, they tell you why you're here. And when I found out that I was here to help people and become a healer, it just like put me back together. So I didn't have to have all the negative feelings about my experience. But the last thing that I want to say is this. Everybody who has been violated, please continue to tell your story. I'm a teacher. I've been educating children for 25 years. They tell me so many crazy stories. I used to cry often until I learned how to heal. The children helped me heal. But one story in particular that just almost blew me away. I had a little girl, and she was really like stinky, bad. And she did it for several days. So I pulled her to the side. I said, "Hey, sweetheart, what's going on with you? Why are you smelling like this?" Because she hadn't been smelling like this. She told me that the reason that girls their ages are funky like that is to stop their mother's boyfriends from molesting them. So I thank you guys. I give thanks. I thank God for you guys. And I hope from today, I mean, we empower ourselves, like the sister said, to go forward and really help our people. And Zakaria, I love you, and you just have to be determined in your mind that it's going to stop happening to you. You find your power, your worth, and your beauty. And once you connect to your God self, you will be able to say no. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Deborah. Thank you for that. There is another question. How do you think abuse affect you in your relationships? Like, how does it affect dating? Sister Lakeisha?
Yes, ma'am. Well, for one, you're not trusting. You're not trusting of a man. I got married young. I got married when I was 20 years old. And there was a lot of things that I figured out in my marriage. Certain things you don't want to be touched certain ways. You know, there are things that you get subconsciously. And so there are triggers, there are things that go on. So it makes it very difficult. And looking back, you know, my husband at the time was young himself, just 1 year older than me. He didn't know. You know, he knew about the abuse, but he didn't know how to deal with that because nobody teaches a man how to deal with, you know, a broken woman. And we were both in the NOI. And but they don't, you know what I'm saying? There's no, he just didn't know how to. So he didn't get when I didn't want to be touched, or he didn't get that, you know, the reason why I didn't like metal hangers on the door, or why I had to have a light on in the room at all times, or, you know, he didn't get those things. And so I had to, you know, work through all of that to deal with it. But yes, it affects dating tremendously, because you can go, I went on the other end of the spectrum. Like I said, when you feel like your power has been taken away, and that's how I felt. I felt like my power to say yes with my own body was taken away from me. And so when you feel that way and you don't deal with it properly, then you go the other way and you become the abuser. You take that power that, you know, you take your body back and then you use it to hurt people. So like Sister said, you end up in the beds of men or whatever, because you like, okay, this was used to hurt me, so now I'm going to use it to hurt the next person. So you have to deal with all of those things. So yeah, it affects dating. And unfortunately, like I said, the men don't know how to deal with it, and the women don't know. We don't know how to, you know, sometimes we don't even understand what that is until you really take that hard look at yourself and see where those things come from. And through Dianetics and just, you know, counseling and those kind of things, I was able to realize where those things come from, so that when they occur, I know what the root of them are and then how to deal with them. Like I said, it's an everyday thing. It's a process. And I had to learn to be patient with that process.
Thank you, Sister Lakeisha. Sister Zakoria, how do you think the pain affects you in relationships? Or are you in a relationship?
I'm not in a relationship. Before I started talking to my ex, I had a date for 3 years. And before I started talking to him, back then, I had a date for another 3 years. I don't want to say I don't trust men, but I guess that there's no other words for it. I don't really trust them. So I don't try to put myself in the position for that situation or any other situation, you know, like that to happen. Because it's like, I feel like it's going to, you know what I mean? And now that I know for a fact that I am weaker in me saying no and stop isn't going to work, it's like, it don't make no sense to put myself in that situation again.
Sister Naira, can you give her some tips on how she can have faith in herself again and possibly start dating again?
Yes, ma'am. Well, the first thing that I would say to this sister is, you know, you're doing the right step just by seeking healing. And, you know, I know somebody was saying, you know, well, we shouldn't say pray about it, but I have that to offer. You know, you have to really have an intimate and personal relationship with God. However, whatever name you call him on, you know, before we had Dianetics, before we had all of this stuff, all we knew was the Lord. You know, so we have to pray, and then we get up and we do something for ourselves. So again, there's many other different teachings and, you know, therapy groups and all these things out there, I would say get a part of something. But I'm giving you something that as a witness bearer, one that has been in your shoes, not once, not twice, but many times, years of abuse. Going into a relationship, I've been married twice. This is I had my first husband I was married to for 11 years with 3 children. I didn't go into it as a saint. You know, my past relationships of being abused and then setting myself up for self-destruction, I brought all of that baggage into my first marriage. I got married with my second marriage, and with that, again, as Sister said, I came into the relationship as a broken woman, and I'm so grateful that my husband had the patience to be with me until I was able to learn how to deal with myself. See, we're dealing with this process is all about you and what you're willing to deal with yourself. And I'm going to be truthful with you. I didn't have the answers to literally go down into my mind, deep into my mind, to remove the pain until I got this technology called Dianetics. I learned how to cope with it, but I didn't learn how to totally erase it. And I'm a new person, a new woman. And I can give to my husband completely. Mind, body, soul, spirit, energy, love and more love. So what am I saying to this sister? That there's a healing that's waiting for you. The best part of you is waiting for you. But I say surround yourself around people that's striving to come up out of that pain. You will get to the point with a made-up mind that you can trust yourself. And when we can begin to trust ourselves, then we can begin to trust others.
Absolutely.
And I'll say this, in that process of being abused, just listen to this. When you are in pain and unconsciousness, there's certain words, there's certain phrases, there's certain smells. All of this stuff is being recorded. So now we walk through in relationships and smells and sounds and words, and we're acting out and we don't know why we're going through this. So what am I saying? In all thy getting, get understanding. Get understanding of yourself, and baby girl, I'm going to tell you, you'll be that and then some, because you'll be able to attract the man that you need for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sister Deborah, we have a question from the comments. Sister Manny wants to know, how do you deal with a broken woman?
How do you deal with a broken woman? First of all, the broken woman has to, I'm assuming that she means, like, how do you deal with yourself if you're a broken woman? So what you have to do is seek help. A lot of times in our community, we think that getting help is something that makes us crazy, but it's really not, because once you learn that you're not the only person in that situation, it gives you ease. And then you will learn how other people, what they did to help themselves out of that. And it will trigger all kind of ideas for you. And I'm going to go back to what the last sister said with the prayer. You have to pray. And after you pray, you have to meditate. Because if you ask the right questions in your prayer, the answers will come to you. So in getting back to yourself, prayer is number 1, meditation number 2, number 3, which was really hard for me to do at one time. Look in the mirror and validate yourself and thank God for the wonderful creation. We are the best of God's creation, the black woman and black man in America, because we survived slavery and all of the torment. But you have to go get help. Anytime you just sit to yourself quietly, you just bounce your own thoughts off of your own mind. They're just going to build and get stronger. So I say, get help. Find you a support system. You don't have to tell everybody. Tell somebody that you think you can trust or won't cause you harm, because we've all ran stuff by the naysayers. I mean, they make you feel like it's your fault. But you just have to start with prayer, meditation, validation, and build your will to become stronger. And then know that you are worthy of a life and the goodness that this world has to offer. And then stop letting people take that away from you. And as far as other people are concerned, how they deal with broken people, let people have their space. Let them tell their stories uninterrupted and give them support and help them. Sometimes we're so broken, you may have to lead somebody to the help that they need. So those are my thoughts on that.
Thank you, Sister Deborah. Sister Tammy, I have a question for you. You have a love page. How did you find love for yourself again?
Thank you, Sister Rashida. My group is not to find love. My group is just called Love. It's the Love Group. It's actually, I made the page actually for this, to tell my story. So I go to the group to tell my story of what happened to me as far as me being molested by my uncle. And then from there, that's when I told my story and being raped multiple times, because I'm in a process of writing a book, telling your story, because telling your story is healing. So that's the purpose of my group, to uplift everyone, to be an inspiration, to be a light. So the group is just really about love, period, unity and growth and inspiration. And as far as me finding love, Miss Sister Rashida, I have not. I've never been in love. And when people ask me at 39 years old, why you haven't never been in love? I used to be married. I just got a divorce. It'll be a year this month with me being being divorced from my ex-husband for a year. And the reason why is because I needed to heal. Going into that relationship with him at 16 years old, being with him 22 years, I was very broken in the aspect of intimately not wanting to be touched in certain types of way, because how I was touched by my uncle and how I was raped multiple times, and just feeling violated. And then just going also into that question of how do I deal with relationships now? Honestly, I'm a lot better, I'll say, than I was, but it still affects me in some ways. But as far as I'll say 98% healed. Some certain things still affect me, but not as bad as it was. But I have not found love yet, so I'm still single.
Okay, one other question. How can brothers help heal a broken woman? So if they're in a relationship with you and you still have some unresolved issues, how can they help you?
A lot of times what men need to start listening. Please try to start understanding, and that goes in terms with them as being having growth and maturity within themselves. The only way to help a broken person, if that person is also, they have to be whole themselves, because they might be broken. So now you have two broken people. That's a problem. So we're both broken. How can we help one another? That's the real issue. So if he's broken, how can he help me in my brokenness? But therein lies comes communication, being transparent with one another, letting people know your story. Even men need to start telling their story. And I know it's a lot harder for men to do so. So when men start telling their story and start telling what happened to them, whether it's financially or being poor, being abused themselves, it's a lot of men that's been abused. They don't speak about it. It's probably more men that's been abused than women. But it's shame in that. You know what I mean? So that's hard. That's a hard one, Sister Rashida.
Thank you for that, Sister Tammy. Sister Lakeisha, Brother DeAndre has a question. He want to know, how do you begin to start trusting men again? Sister Lakeisha, you still on mute.
All right. Actually, for me, Brother DeAndre's previous question was, how how was my relationship with my father. And I know this is going to shock a lot of people, but my father's my best friend at this point. And why he is that is because we had a chance to talk. After I said we were absent each other about 2 years, my dad was the one that actually introduced me to the Nation of Islam. Was actually one of the reasons why, one of the selling points, so to speak, for me, because I was told by Minister Amos that once you come into the Nation of Islam, you become a new person. So what you are before you walk through those doors is no longer. So whether you were a murderer or whatever your sin was, when you walk through those doors, you are no longer that person. So the first step for me and my father was he had come back from the Million Man March, and we had that conversation, and we actually went through those steps of atonement. We actually had that conversation, and it was a process because I also had a healing ritual with my father with a Baba there in Oklahoma, and for me to be able to verbalize to him the pain that he caused, and for him to accept responsibility for what he did, to hear what in his mind he was trying to do. And so that helped me a lot. And because it was hard, because while this was going on, you still had someone telling you about your value and your worth, and don't let just anybody have you. So it was, those things sunk in for me after that. And so, like I said, it was a process, but my father now, he suffered a lot. And I know people feel like, he deserves that. But I feel like I'm not his judge, period. That's between him and God. And so I was able to forgive him. He still has that the guilt and the shame. He feels responsible for the relationships that I've been through. The poor relationship that I've had, the marriage that didn't work, although he feels responsible for those things. But what I learned is that I have to trust what I feel my divine right is. Whatever God puts into my life is a lesson for me. And so I've had people ask me, would you change anything? No, because what happened to me is what makes me who I am now. So I embrace that, and I appreciate whatever that struggle is. And that's just the way that I look at it. And I trust men. It's difficult, but I know I have to have a standard for me and what I will accept and what I won't. And I take every individual that I come in contact with on that face value. I'm not going to have what happened to me in my marriage or with my father be come into a relationship that I have with a man. My hopes is that I meet someone who will understand that. And I know it's hard for Black men to deal with that. For me to be still friends with my father, knowing what happened, it's hard. It is very hard, and I've had to deal with that. But like I said, it's not my job to judge him, by no means. I feel like I trust my dad. I feel like my dad loves me sincerely. And like I said, it's been it's painful more so for me to watch him. My dad is 70-some years old now, and for that to still be hanging over his head in certain circles is very hard. I have to act a certain way in public or whatever. I can't hug too long or don't stand, what I'm saying? Because people judge, and that's hard. He has to carry that now, and he's 76 years old. So I love my dad. I'm a daddy's girl to the day I die. I don't care what nobody say, because I learned to forgive him. And so through forgiving him, I learned to love him, and he's loved me. So that's where I am with that.
Sister Lakeisha, that is very, very powerful.
Yes,
Very
ma'am.
powerful. And I commend you for being able to do that. Brother DeAndre did have one other question. He said, how do you deal with people saying that you may make excuses for him? How do you deal with that? What would you say to them?
Making excuses for him. My thing is, my mantra is just because I understand doesn't mean I condone. And that's what people didn't seem to get. If I say I understand why my father crossed the line with me, doesn't mean that I condone it. I understand. And for me, I choose to look at my father or any other man that's been, done something bad the way I would like God to look at me. I'm not perfect. And I've done things. I've abused people. Do I want God or somebody to set in judgment of me? No. I know people say, oh, that's your father, then that's what you do. But no, I didn't make excuses for him. He owned his responsibility. Now, if he was still denying and saying, no, he owned his responsibility and what he did. And so because of that, I have to forgive him. That's how I feel. I don't, it don't matter to me what other people feel. I have to, if somebody asks for your forgiveness and they've owned their responsibility and they're hurt, then that's the part of atonement, and I have to do that. Because if not, I stay entrapped in that time, in that era, and I'm not going to do that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Please. Sister
Go ahead.
Lakeisha, you are a phenomenal woman. And it reminds me that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when he said, we hate the behavior, but not the person. See, love, when you love somebody, you will meet them where they are. You will look past their fault and see their needs. And that's the mind of a God. So what you're exercising is God. And many of us that have not elevated to that new and perfect love like Jesus has, then we can't understand because we're looking from the mind of a carnal viewpoint, from a humanistic type of mindset. But sister, I hear and see the elevation of a God. So walk in power and in love with what you say, and to keep expressing that, because your story is an example of what true love looks like. You see? So I just thank you so very much. I was asked to get on here, but I'm a student. And I thank Allah for your example in being able to show what perfect love looks like.
Thank you, sis.
Absolutely. Sister Corey, have you sought any help to deal with your situation? Got tools to cope?
No. The first time we left, we were staying in Texas during that time, so we just went ahead and came back to Oakland. And I don't know why I never did. I feel like, okay, so I don't know if y'all know about Oakland, but it's kind of like we're so tough it out. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel like I just had to fight through it, just get past it, hurry up, it'll get over. Let's just drop it out our brain, because it's like there's no time to settle on that, if that makes any sense. Recently I've been trying to. I usually poke out. The only reason I haven't now is because I literally spent my whole day dealing with the last situation yesterday. So now I'm open to getting the help, because I'm realizing a lot how it's probably driving me crazy, and I don't want to put that on my son. Like, for example, I can't cry, and I noticed that since I don't cry, it makes my son feel some type of way when he cries in front of me. So I'm noticing that I probably should go ahead and get some help.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of. Oh, go ahead.
May I
Go
say
ahead.
something? Yes, ma'am. Sister Sequoia,
Yes.
the behavior that you're expressing, beloved, that's not unnatural. That's the typical Black woman and what we had to do for our state of survival. We've been doing that for over 400 years here in the wilderness of North America. Get over it. Keep it moving. I have to work. We had to do this for the slave master, you know, because he would come in our bedroom, he would rape us, and we had to just act like it did not happen. So I want you to know that that's not unnatural. But what I'm saying to you, that in this day and time, something can be done about it. This is the first step. With you on this live video with us, today is the first step. Tomorrow will be the next step. You take one step at a time and know that your healing is coming for you. It has already started. Okay, so I want you to find a mass, a study group, a believer. Even if you got to get online and get Dianetics, I'm going to keep saying that because my specialty is the repair of the Black family, and that starts with the Black woman. Okay, so I want you to find out how to get some auditing. In Oakland, I'm going to give you my phone number, 727-623-5555. Call me, and I want to walk with you through this process. Okay, so that you can get some healing, sister, because you are so powerful. You have a lot of work to do, but we're going to unravel this pain and find the best part of you.
Thank you, Sister Naira. Sister Deborah, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I agree with Sister Naira, not only for just the sister, just for all Black women. Dianetics auditing is the way to help you to heal, because you go back through those painful experiences until you can accept them, not as like a reality, but until you take away those pains that settle in your cellular memory. Then it goes back to your brain just as a memory. And one thing I want to say is, if we don't speak out when those things happen to us, they manifest in our lives as diseases later. So I wrote a poem called If You Knew how many times that you practice self-doubt, or you didn't speak up when your gut told you to, or you didn't tell when you were supposed to release something. All of that stuff stays in your body, goes into your cellular memory, and you get high blood pressure, diabetes, Crohn's disease. Part of that is because what we allow to settle in our minds that's destructive for us hurts us. So Dianetics is an awesome way to get those painful experiences out of your cellular memory and back into your mind just as a memory that won't harm you.
And may I say something too, dear sister? Thank you for what you said. But I really believe, and what's in my spirit right now is that we have to address Dianetics by itself. You see, because our people are afraid. The Bible says in Hosea 4:6 that our people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Not because knowledge is not available, but because we reject knowledge. And we reject those things that we do not understand. So the first thing it takes is courage. It takes courage to go and get something that you do not understand. Yes, it comes from the white man that has produced it, but it's our technology, you see. And Minister Farrakhan has said that Mr. Hubbard is a man that we was destined to meet. That's just not for the members in the Nation of Islam. That's Black people all over the world, specifically in the wilderness of North America. So we can't get it twisted. We are living in an hour where we don't have a lot of time to get ourselves right. We have to be able to take modern technology, apply it to our lives, and go through the process. I went through this process, and now I am now what they call a clear. What does that mean? That means all of the painful emotional experiences that I have experienced in my life no longer has force and power over me. I'm not reactive anymore to situations. I can respond. I can see a problem and make it go away. There's always a solution. It's about finding the right solution. I'm at peace in my soul. In my soul. You see? Why? Because I was obedient and I submitted myself to a process that I didn't understand, but I went through it. And through that, I gained the benefit of being a new woman. Things may happen in my life, but I can handle it. I can confront it. You see? And I want that for everyone. This is how we're going to bring in a new civilization. Dianetics don't answer all of your problems, but it will put you on the roads for you to answer your own problems.
That's right.
So with that being said, the minister, and I'm talking about Farrakhan, he said that this technology, You don't know one Black person that don't need it. So we got to get the advocating. And the advocation comes from experience. So everyone on this line that has been through something, listen, we could come up through this pain. And it's no longer when we sit and talk about it, it has so much force and power over us. Yes, use that pain for power to make changes. So I'm very grateful for every person on this line because you all are opening up avenues for people to reach for their own selves. Sister Lakeisha, I mean, good God Almighty. Sister, to be able to talk with that much love. I don't know too many Black women that can do what you have done. Just in this last 10 minutes, you see? So you're already exercising your ability, but it's so much more to you. Sister Tammy, Sister Zakoria, you know, and those that organized this show, good God Almighty, thank you, because you are opening up what they call Pandora's box for us, the lions, to get out the cage. So there's some tools and technology here to help us. So keep doing what you're doing, and may Allah bless us all for healing. And that's for those who's watching this. It may not understand because people will not take advantage of something for lack of understanding.
Thank you, Sister Naira. Sister Tammy, Bruce Muhammad, he asks, how should we handle abusers in our community? If you ladies could elaborate on that. Sister Tammy, can you go first?
Absolutely. My thing is on handling, how should we handle the abuses in our community? I think we need to, what we're doing now, this is great. This is a great start, what we're doing now. We're speaking out on it. We need to not allow this to no longer be a secret. We are no longer enslaved. We are not in slavery no longer. So this is not a secret. We need to start speaking out. We need to start speaking the truth. Just like with Sister Lakeisha, I absolutely love her story that she forgave her dad in the aspect of because he was hurt. And like she stated, just because our character or we do something, that is not who we are. And so we need to learn how to forgive. We need to learn how to heal from that forgiving. And we need to learn how to speak out and just, you know, speak the enemy out and expose it for what it is. And from there, don't accuse, don't point fingers, don't say this, don't say that. Say, thank you for, like what her father did. Thank you for, you know, accepting what you did. When a person accepts what they did and it's not about condoning, like she stated. Forgiving doesn't mean condoning. Forgiving doesn't mean, oh, it's okay. You're right. No, it means forgiving means moving on, moving forward, and being healed and being free. You are free once you forgive. And that's what we need to start doing. We need to continue to speak out on it and heal from it, and then we can grow and go from there.
Thank you, Sister Tammy. Sister Zakoria, how should we handle abusers in our community? What would you say?
I honestly have no idea. I've been thinking about it for the last few days, given my situation, because a lot of people feel like I should file charges. I guess for what I'm learning, therapy helps, and I don't want to say send them to therapy because some people are just wrong and they know right from wrong and they're just doing things just because they can. But I also can't say send him to jail because I have this feeling like I don't like how the justice system is set up for Black men. So it's like I have no idea. I'm completely lost.
Thank you, Sister Zakoria. That was heartfelt, and you're absolutely right. The jail system is set up to continue to fail you and continue to program you in a negative way. You're absolutely right. Sister Lakeisha, what would you say? What would you say about handling abusers in our community?
I think one, there needs to be a place where they can get the help that they need. Men function different than women, but there needs to be a place where they can address the issues. It needs to be understood why they do the things that they do. So for me, an effort to get them to understand why this is not normal behavior, why this is detrimental to our community, would be the first. But for those that just don't want to reform, something else has to happen. And I don't know what that else is, but for those that do not want to reform, there has to be an example made. And that's just me speaking. I'm just saying, because you can't keep.
Yes, ma'am. Let me help you out, Sister Lakeisha. I second that motion. I take a law for the Nation of Islam and FOI. And I have daughters, okay? And so I'm going to speak from this angle first. We'll get you some help, but you need to be dealt with first. And I'm not calling the police. I'm calling the FOI, okay? So that's my viewpoint. If an abuse, I don't care who you are. I'm dealing with you based upon we're going to police our own communities, okay? And that's the beauty of having the protection for the Black woman. Look on the back page of the final call, what the Muslims want. We want the Black, I think it's point number 11, we want our women to be respected and protected. Well, the brothers cannot protect that which they cannot control. So I put myself and my daughters under the control of the FOI. So if you cross that line with the women of God, then you have to be dealt with accordingly. Okay, then we will get you some help. But right now, how do we deal with them in our community? We need to police our own community. We need Black men who will stand up, respect, and protect the Black woman. That's how we need to deal with it in our community. And we cannot make decent men if we don't be decent. So our thoughts and our process has to be cleaned up first. That's what I think.
Absolutely, sister. Sister Deborah, you answer how we should address the abusers in our community, and then I have one other question for you as well. What are some of the symptoms we can look for to identify them in our families and our babies of abuse?
Well, the first one, that's a very, very hard one for me because I'm not so as non-forgiving as fast because I teach and I witness so many children who get abused, and it's disheartening. So it makes it hard for me to decide how much I care about the person that's abusing. But I do understand that something had to happen to them. So there is some forgiveness there, but that's a hard one. I think it depends on the situation, but I'm like Sister Naira. I think you need to call the FOI or whatever brother organizations that we have and say mount up, like right now.
Right.
But
Drop squad.
Right. The second thing is the behaviors. The behaviors are children and women who get abused are very standoffish. They kind of make a shield around themselves, and certain conversations will make them have certain body positions. I had a little girl in my class, and every time I had to talk to her, because she was like from one extreme to the next. She was real quiet, or she was going off. So one day I called her out in the hallway, and I know coach. She always had her zipped up. She always had her hands folded. She was just kind of like stay away from people. If people got too close, like she would immediately move away. So there are some positions, some motions that people make. There's also language. People who get abused, they're very matter of fact about the things that they believe in and a part of their world that they can control. They're the people that are very literal and who make like just statements that they're not going to bend on, which is really a shield for what happened to them. But I want to say this too. We as a community, Minister Farrakhan said one time in a lecture, he said we have so many problems, I'm paraphrasing. in our community that the ones of us who do know and offer the expertise, we should start having classes so that we can teach our people how to act and how to respond to certain things. And I think this right here could be a class for the world. It's so powerful. But the ones of us who are already empowered need to teach those classes. The ones of us who are on our way should absolutely teach the classes. We have to. I used to cry often. I can tell you stories about children who get abused. It's ridiculous. I had some first grade twins who their own father gave them gonorrhea. I had a little girl who her mama had like 5 children, and her boyfriend, the oldest girl's boyfriend, and the middle girl's boyfriend was raping her. All of them. And it's just endless. I had a situation where a lady lived in Texas. She moved her children to Oklahoma with her boyfriend, whom she had her last 2 children with. She had 4 in all, 2 older boys and 2 little girls. And he was having sex with them, every sex, anal, oral, everything. And he was making them have sex with each other. The stuff we're doing now as a black people is crazy. It's too crazy for us not to talk about it and deal with it. And we can't be so judgmental that we punish everybody, because half of Black America would disappear. That's how bad it is. So with that, I just say, let's keep on keeping on. I am down for anybody that's on this call that want to collaborate and continue this. I think this is beautiful. I thank you, Michael, for doing this. I thank the rest of the sisters that are on. Sister Naira, man, you're a champion of all champions. You're powerful. Keep up the good work. Sister Keisha and the rest of you, I forgot your name. I'm sorry. Sister Tammy, Sister Sakura. If I left somebody out, Sister Rashida, I love you all. And let's get our people. Let's go get our people.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. You ladies helped us, taught us a lot. Sister Naira, Sister Deborah, if you will, go back through the chat. There's a lot of questions in there, and if you all could post your information, your email or something, so people can get in touch with you. There is one other question. Sister Naira, can you explain what Dynamics is? Because a lot of people are asking, what does that mean?
Yes, ma'am. Dianetics is the modern science to mental health. It is where it handles the mind. The Bible tells us we have a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So you learn about the 2 minds, the analytical mind and the reactive mind. And what we're striving to do is to get rid of that reactive mind. So basically, the mind, we know, makes the body sick. As the sister said earlier, that when we begin to hold on to these painful emotions, we start to come up with cancers and fibroids and all of these different things. And what we're doing is going with Dianetics is learning the mechanism of the mind so that we can begin to get rid of these painful and mental anguish, anxieties, and emotions. So now you and I can be able to function as the Bible says, ye are all God's children of the Most High God. We're striving to become functioning in this new world order. So Dianetics is the modern science to mental health, just to be precise. I encourage everyone, get online, learn about Dianetics, inbox me, go to your local mindset study group, and don't be afraid to go to the Church of Scientology. Get Dianetics. Get it, and let's bring it back to our communities and make our communities a decent and better place to live. There's plenty of YouTube videos. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has addressed this technology, and we need it. Many of us have to become auditors. That's where you become a therapist. Most times we want to talk, but we need to learn how to listen. And that's what Dianetics help with, learning how to listen so we can bring about a healing. So thank you all for this powerful, powerful, powerful show. Every sister on here added on to my life today, poured into my life, and now I can be a better start because of you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sister Naira. So we're getting ready to close. I wanted to tell everybody thank you for participating in Super Sister Saturday. We're here every Saturday with different topics that affect our community, affect us as sisters, and how we can unify as one. Also, we on the Black Love page, which this is part of, we have Brother to Brother Talk on Tuesdays. Please join in to talk to our brother DeAndre and brother Amar about how to be a brother to one another. They have a lot of topics. And don't forget Black Love Thursday. That's what started these groups. Black Love Thursday is to build our community as men and women, showing love for one another, encouraging one another, and we look forward to seeing you on those days. Thank you, everybody who participated, asked questions. If you all know someone who needs help, or if you need help, please reach out to these sisters. If you can't get in touch with them, get in touch with one of us on the Black Love page, and we will definitely get you the information. Once again, thank you for participating in Super Sister Saturday. Look forward to seeing you next week. Sisters, can y'all stay on?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Hold on. I'm trying to get my face back on.